Okay, thank you all. I am calling us to order. We do have a quorum, so we are going to do a quick round of just confirming who is here. In the PPACG conference room, we have Andy Gunning, we have Kevin Shrewsbury, and we have Megan Dunlap. On Zoom, I'm seeing Marla Lucky, and I don't have your last name in my head, Kevin Storms, Richard Coffin, Sam Bailey, Katie Helm, Paul, and Monty McVeigh. Did I miss anybody? Okay, we're gonna call it good then. So, are there any public comments? We did not receive any in advance, which we are still accepting. Okay, next we're on to item 3, the consent items. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda or minutes? Then I am going to request a motion to approve the consent items.
I move to approve the consent items.
Okay. Kevin has moved to approve. May I ask for a second?
This is Katie Helmo, second.
Okay, thank you, Katie. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. On to our agenda item, information. This is Jessica McMullen, the Policy and Communication Manager here with the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. And I am here to bring you a little bit of information about what the Air Quality Control Commission was doing relating to rulemaking regarding the Employee Travel Reduction Program. The AQCC was hearing a rule number 22, that involved a section about this e-trip. And what this was proposed to be was that the areas in non-attainment for EPA ozone would be asked to create programs that would support employee traffic reduction programs. So any business that had 100 or more people in one location would be required to reduce the number of people traveling to that, number of cars traveling to that location. The measurement was going to be based on the 2020 numbers for how many cars were there.
Single occupancy cars.
Single occupancy cars. Most of those areas, everyone currently in non-attainment receives money for this already. They have a variety of federal and state funds that they can access for these types of programs. The Pikes Peak region does not. The proposal from CDPAG, from the Air Quality Division, was just for areas in non-attainment. One of the Air Quality Commission members mentioned when the proposal was first made that they would like to see it made statewide. If that were to happen, it would have been a dramatic impact on the Pikes Peak region. Our board of directors and our staff all looked at that proposal, and in discussion with partners such as the Colorado Springs Chamber of Commerce and City of Colorado Springs and Fountain, we all worked together to develop a statement from our region saying this should not apply to us. It would be too expensive for us to implement. Having a mandatory reduction program at this point is not something that's a feasible effort for our region. Several, and by several I mean more than 20 other organizations and groups also opposed this, in general opposed this rulemaking, but also opposed the expansion of it as it had been proposed. So we applied for party of record status, which meant that we could actually argue with them about not doing it instead of just writing a letter of complaint. I am, by the way, summarizing this in layman's terms, just in case anybody didn't know I do that. And after hearing all of the objections, the Air Quality Division at the state decided to fully and completely withdraw their efforts for the Rule 22 relating to the employee traffic reduction plan. And instead we'll be focusing on non-mandatory efforts. Their goal is to expand education opportunities about it and to grow benefits to people for installing these without creating punishments for not doing it. So the Air Quality Department did a great job of hearing what people were saying and adjusting. And I think addressing some of the unspoken concerns people had that where you were just worried about what was going to happen that hadn't been written down. Part of the reason I wanted to make sure everybody knew about this effort is we are hearing that there will be another rulemaking effort relating to vehicle miles traveled, which will be another issue that comes up very closely. The measurement that people are doing things by is ozone attainment. As we all know, that's an interesting topic in our area.
When you say miles, do you mean like commute times? Is that?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the details on it, but it's we think it's going to be a rulemaking process that goes to the State Transportation Commission instead of the Air Quality Control Commission. But the state with CDOT is working on targets, basically on we'll call it VMT, it's vehicle miles of travel for an entire region. Say within our region, I don't know what our daily number of miles is that we travel. Let's say it's 1 million miles per day that we travel collectively. Mm-hmm. Based on the roadmap that was adopted by the state, I guess it was earlier this year, that came out of House bill that was passed 2 years ago in 2019, greenhouse gas roadmap. It identified targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions over several target years in the horizon. So based on those targets, CDOT's working on what do we need to do to reduce emissions from the transportation sector. So looking at it beyond just the employer traffic reduction issue, just looking at more holistically, if we travel, say, 1 million miles per day in our region, they're going to come up with a rule that says we have to reduce that by like 5% or 10%. I have no idea how much yet. And that's where there's weekly calls on this with the state to really try to figure out what this is going to look like. How's it going to be enforced? Can we mitigate it all? And how much credit do we get if we do mitigation? Because we're still looking at, with the employer travel reduction rulemaking officially, not moving forward now, we still want to do something voluntary as well. Jessica mentioned that that's what the state's approach is going to be. We think that makes a whole lot of sense. And we want to do that because A, it's the right thing to do, but B, there could be a lot of value, especially if we get some of the practices to stick that we used through the pandemic, like work from home. And if we encourage more people to use transit, and maybe major employers don't really know what options are available, setting up van pools and carpools and things like that. So we'd like that to be part of the equation as well. But we've got to look at this whole wide mix of different measures to try to reduce our overall VMT once we find out what the rules are going to be with that. So that's coming soon. It officially has started. It started with the Transportation Commission meeting a couple of weeks ago. So we started the process. The clock is sort of ticking, but there's not been a specific date set yet for a public hearing. We think it might be in the September, October timeframe. We heard from a conversation with our CDOT director yesterday that the rules may be released the second week in August, so that then we'll have a better idea as to what the specific measures are going to look like and how long we need to come into compliance and what that's going to look like in our transportation planning process and so forth. So that's going to be a really big deal and probably something that this body ought to weigh in on once we get the details. So we'll probably want to meet again in, say, August, assuming some of the details do come forward, because it's going to be a big deal with our board. They've been talking about it, and they're probably going to want to help form what our position is going to be and get feedback from various committees, our transportation/technical advisory committee that meets here, PPACG, our CAC, and the Air Quality committee as well. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about what this effort was, kind of what is happening now? You're all making me feel like I'm talking too much, just in case you couldn't tell.
I don't have any questions. This is great.
Okay, well, just so you know, again, we will be bringing forward other things because this issue is now off the table. We are hoping that some of the voluntary efforts, you guys will be hearing about them as things move forward and we start developing efforts relating to it, but none of it will be APCC mandated.
Who have an eventee rep on this committee by chance? Because we've been talking about engaging more with MNT. We've had conversations with them around the e-trip program rulemaking, when that was still a thing. And now that it's off the radar for now, so we're going to do something on a voluntary basis. We really want to work closely with them and with the chamber and major employers and so forth to really bolster the marketing and opportunities and our capacity to do things like carpool examples, expand transit to the extent we can expand our transit service and things like that.
Yes, we have a at-large member and backup from Mountain Metro.
Yeah, good.
So, as I was developing the agenda, you will notice that there is a section labeled Member Discussion. For this, I did actually ask a couple of different folks to provide a little bit of information about things going on in the community that and state that were very important to us. So I asked Kevin with CSU to talk to us a little bit about Drake and what's going on there, because there have been news in the articles in the newspaper and other things which may be of interest. And then after Kevin speaks, I did ask Rick Coffin to talk a little bit about the ozone numbers thus far this year and where we are and what that's looking like. So, Kevin.
Great, yeah, Kevin Shrewsbury with Colorado Springs Utilities, and we're really excited to announce that we have been issued a construction permit from the air quality or the Air Pollution Control Division with PPACG for the installation of 6 natural gas combustion turbines at the Drake site. These will be interim units, so Drake won't be their permanent home, but they will help facilitate the decommissioning and retirement of Drake units 6 and 7, which are the existing coal units. So like I mentioned, that permit has been issued by the division, and some site preparation activities will start within the next couple months at the site, with installation, startup, and commissioning of the units to occur in 2022. So just here in 6 months. We are currently anticipating our last full combustion at Drake as early as September of this year. So we'll be transitioning off of coal here in just a few months, is the current plan. That is tentative to change, but that's as early as September we may be off of coal at the Drake facility. So we do plan on at the next meeting providing kind of an overview presentation of the project as we move forward. So any questions? Be more than happy to answer any questions.
Got one real quick.
Yeah.
The Drake itself doesn't go away. It's just going to shift to natural gas production, but as a facility, it's pretty much going to stay there. I mean, some of the smokestacks and things like that might go away, but
So the existing facility will be completely decommissioned.
okay,
And will be demoed in the future.
okay,
And these units are interim units at the facility. They're permanent assets for Colorado Springs Utilities. Right now, we're in the process of a feasibility study to determine what the permanent locations of these units when they're relocated.
okay,
They could be relocated as early as 2026 off of the site. But once the units are decommissioned, officially decommissioned probably late 2022, we will be working on full decommissioning of the existing units and buildings. The current plan is for all of the stacks of the existing and building of the existing facility to come down at some point.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity for downtown expansion, redevelopment. Yeah, okay.
Very cool. Anything else for Kevin? Okay. Rick, would you be able to talk to us a little bit about what's going on with ozone thus far this year and what you're seeing?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Well, it's been a rough summer for ozone, both in the Denver North Front Range area and in the spring so far. Denver, this has been an unusually bad season. Typically we have 2 or 3 monitors, ozone monitors in the Denver area that are typically like the ones with the most exceedances per summer. But this year, pretty much we've seen high levels at every monitor, which is unusual. But as far as the 2 monitors in the PPACG area, the U.S. Air Force Academy and Manitou Springs, there's been, for Manitou, there's been 3 exceedances of the 2008 ozone standard and no exceedances of the more stringent 2015 standard. But for the U.S. Air Force Academy monitor, there's been 4 exceedances of the 2008 standard and 1 of the more stringent 2015 standard. And so I think as you know, with ozone, attainment of the standard is determined by a 3-year average of 4th maximum values. And right now, the 3-year average, and this is taking into account all data, including days that were impacted by wildfires, including some days from last year. So if we're looking at all data, the area is not attaining the 2008 ozone standards for both monitors. And, you know, I know we've talked about exceptional events in the past with your board, and basically that's the process where, you know, exceptional events such as wildfires or dust storms are outside of the control of air quality regulators. So EPA allows an option for the state to write up a report detailing all, you know, all the meteorological conditions and, you know, the source of the smoke. And that would allow us, if EPA agrees, to, you know, exclude data from certain days where ozone levels were impacted by wildfire smoke. So we're still waiting for an official decision from the state leadership on moving forward with an exceptional event demonstration. It looks like it's likely, especially for the Colorado Springs area, but we're also looking at it for the Denver North Front Range area. And the issue is that, you know, this would have a big impact for your area. Obviously, it's the difference between going into non-attainment or staying in attainment. But for the Denver area, it wouldn't make that difference because all the other ozone levels were so high. So I think that's part of why this decision is taking longer to be made. I think leadership's trying to figure out the path forward, you know, across the board for all this. But we expect a decision soon. And so, you know, and as far as why the levels have been so bad, so high this summer, you know, for basically all of the ozone exceedances in the Colorado Springs area this summer have been influenced at least to some degree by wildfire smoke mostly from out-of-state fires. I think it's been mixing some with some of the in-state fires, and the meteorological conditions basically over the state, over the area, over the past few weeks has created hot and dry conditions, which are like perfect conditions for ozone production. And, you know, in addition to that, those conditions have aided in transporting the wildfire smoke from large fires in some of the western states like California, Oregon, Idaho, to our area. So the smoke has enhanced ozone throughout the North Front Range and the Pikes Peak area. So it's, you know, just been a rough summer so far, and we're only, you know, we're about, well, we have another month or so, you know, to get through. Sometimes ozone season, you know, can extend a little bit into mid-September, but August is usually one of the worst months. So we'll see how it goes, and I'm happy to provide another update at the next meeting. Any questions?
I have one just real quick. I know you mentioned that the decision for last year's data is still being reviewed by city PAC leadership. Do you have an idea of when that decision will be made for the 2020 data?
No, I don't. I don't know. I asked again this morning, and it's, you know, it's been, you know, a month or two of the same response saying it's still pending. So I'm not sure about that, but you know, we can, once I do have some info, we'll certainly forward it on to PPACG. So, sorry, I don't have more right now.
No, that's okay. We appreciate the offer of an update when available.
Very much so. Do any other members have anything they'd like to add? Any efforts going on with the city, county, utilities that folks need to know about? Okay. I know at our future meetings, we are going to hear a little bit more about the greenhouse gas emissions and reporting for them. That is something that had been requested at the April meeting. We are just kind of holding to hear what's going on relating to this VMT and CDOT and how the greenhouse gas roadmap is developing and its inaction is happening. So that will come at a future APTC. And I'm going to also mark that we will also be hearing from CSU about Drake and from Rick about ozone. Are there any other items you'd like to see us discuss at future meetings?
I guess one other maybe ongoing or future meeting topic would be talking about the area's ozone advance plan, and if there's any steps that we could help out with, we being, you know, CDPHE, or, you know, working on it as a group, or even an update on that.
Absolutely. I will make sure we have that for you at our next meeting. You've gotten a written one of our last one when I wasn't able to deliver it verbally, but I will provide another update at our next meeting.
Can I say something about that too real quick? And just a quick update on that, and it's more related to our personnel resources and anything, but that's kind of been driving why we haven't maybe been as active and as forceful on the ozone advance activities for this year. Good to see that Sam's on the call today, but since Sam left, I think it was February this year, when she shifted over to the city when the city stole her away, we haven't started filling that vacancy yet, but we're ready to get started now, probably within the next couple of weeks. The big hang up, if you will, is we kind of restructured the position a little bit as far as the scope and some of the things it was going to work on. Still an environmental planning position, still fairly broad and generalist, if you will, where it's going to be dealing with air quality, water quality, and then other environmental issues that come up. But one of the really key things that we're focusing on now related to our military planning activities is wildfire mitigation and coordination. So we're going to be working closely with the city, with the county. We're going to go after some federal grants to help coordinate around wildfire mitigation related issues. And that was an activity that is going to be funded in part by a grant that we got from Department of Defense to fund our military planning program. We thought we were going to get that grant back in March, and that would have meant that we get a manager in place for that program. And then right after that, hire the environmental planner position that would likely report to that person. But we didn't get that grant from DOD. We thought March. It ended up coming about a month ago. We got it at the very end of June. So we just now got our military planning manager on board and some other pieces falling into place. The other part of this position as well, they're going to be dealing with the greenhouse gas emissions requirements that are coming down from the state, now from CDOT with the vehicle miles of travel reduction issues. We're kind of folding that into the position as well. So we're still kind of working with the position description, but should have it done pretty much any day now. My hope is to get it on the street to start advertising early August. I don't know if that's going to be like next week, early August, or the week after, but it's coming really, really soon. So that's part of the reason that we maybe haven't been as active with both this committee and with the Ozone Advanced Program, but definitely those have not fallen off our radar. There's so much going on, and we need to get moving with it, but needed to make sure we had the financial pieces put in place first as well.
And as part of that, when that job is released, we will send it to all of you so that you can forward it to folks who might be interested and who would be good matches to join us here. So we'll ask you to help us. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
This is Katie. Thanks for the update regarding the position and just the frequency of the meetings. I know virtual meetings are really challenging because everyone's trying to be conscious of the airtime, but I really appreciate the information share. I know it can be hard to gauge if everyone is engaged in the presentation because not everyone camera shares, but this was great. So thank you for taking time to put it together.
Thank you very much. With that, I will call us to adjourn at 1:29. So thank you all for joining us.
And I would suggest that we do schedule another meeting for August. I guess it'd be the fourth Wednesday in August, because I'm pretty sure we've heard this a couple of times, but I really do think we're going to get more details released soon from CDOT and the VNT reduction rulemaking. So that's something we'll probably want to dive into that in more detail with this group on and see if you have any initial thoughts or observations that you want to share as we send this onto our board and craft what our position is going to be. Okay.
That sounds great.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.